Okay.
Record. Okay, now I'm going to screen share. Okay, so if we look at this example of the final,
Okay.
This is the inspiration page. So here's the cover page, and this is just a cover that the student created to introduce herself as their name, and then indicated this is the brand style guide for their personal brand.
Okay.
And this is actually the student's own original artwork. The student is an artist and branded herself as an artist for this assignment.
Okay.
This is the inspiration. So I want you to look online, whether you use Pinterest or just Google, or you just sketch, or it doesn't even necessarily have to connect like industry to industry. You could have a clothing company and be super inspired by maybe a piece of art that you see, but you have to show where your ideas came from. So there should be one page to show your concept development, and that is here on one. So like I said, you can consider all of these like a page of your document. And that could be a mood board. It could just be showing things that you liked.
Okay.
And then you'll have the logo identity system. So this logo is almost like the student's signature or their initials.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to choose typography that matches your brand, a color scheme that matches your brand, and then any secondary visual elements that you feel work. And that's listed under logo identity system. So that should be the second page.
Okay.
And then you will have your brand position. And that is just you describing what people should feel out of every connection with your brand. And that might be difficult for some of you where like writing isn't your strength, but it's also a bonus if, you get to actually just write something instead of having to like draw it or create it. You get a chance to write and explain. So it can be more detailed than this if you prefer, but it can also be this simple. And think about your brand voice, like the way you talk and the words that you choose to use and who you're trying to appeal to. Especially like me as a millennial, if I was trying to appeal to Gen Z, I'd probably sound silly if I actually tried to talk like that. But you can tell when like a brand is like a young brand, or if it's like relating to older people, or whatever the audience is. But I always, like in my own social media and stuff like that, I have a very casual voice. I feel like what I do is fun, and I just try to convey like the spirit of what I'm doing. So I'm not like super stuffy and serious when I like write my social media posts and things like that. I have a very casual voice to convey the fun and how I feel about my work.
Okay.
So the print elements, so this student would actually print the artwork and then made herself a business card.
Okay.
So it has here print, you can choose two. So you don't have to show two print elements, but I write several options. So you can do a resume if that applies to you. If I jump back over to the discussion board, we'll pull that up in a minute. Some of you are doing things like clothing brands. If you're doing a clothing brand, you don't need a resume. Think of something else. Maybe you want to do a business card, a tag that would go on the clothing. I just did a logo for a vintage seller so that she can put them on her tags at pop-ups.
Mm-hmm.
So you can be creative. You don't have to stick to what is on this list. Think about what will apply to your business. But when it says print, those are things, and you don't actually have to print it, but you have to mock up what it would look like actually physically in use. Whether that's a business card, whether it's a postcard, whether it's a poster, but you think of two things that would apply to your business. And it's funny, I have resume on here and I haven't printed a resume. And I don't know how long, and I just realized that just right now that I keep resume under print still, just because the digital I consider like the social media, the web stuff, but I haven't printed a resume in forever and actually like turned in a physical resume. But you design it on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper as if it's going to be printed. So that's just one of those weird things that's left over from the olden days, as my daughter would say. She did say the other day, like, "Oh, in the olden days, did they have this?" And it was
Oh,
something like that wasn't that old. I'm like, oh man. So this student did do a resume. This one's very basic and clean. So it kind of works, but it's also, you know, it could be a little more styled up to go with this. But then the digital was her website. And this is the portfolio component of the website. And then the about, and then the contact page. So this website was actually a functional website. It was really clean, everything. So you have to gauge your brand based on the look and feel that you're trying to go for. So obviously this is clean and minimal. And because it's an artist with like vivid, colorful artwork, that's what's really taking center stage. A lot of photographers too have websites that are very clean and minimal because the photography needs to be put forward. So it's up to you to decide how that works with your brand and your style. And then you'll see the last page of this final was the references to I think that was to her inspiration. But if you use things like this one was for an artist, so nothing was stock imagery. But for example, Ariane, if you want to use like if you want to find an illustration of a bee on like a royalty-free stock website that you can use, you are allowed to do that for the final. Even in my day-to-day job, I don't create everything from scratch. The final can really be more about curating, but you do have to list your sources and you have to know how to put those components together. And we went over that a little bit last week where I showed you like Creative Market. I use iStock, but it's a very expensive subscription. So it's like I have that professional access to it, but you can find Creative Market's a little bit more a better price point. If you want to invest a little bit in your project because you're going to actually use it, you can find things off of some sites. And if you can't find what you're looking for, you can always email me and ask me. So, oops, decline. I don't know why it does that sometimes. I never told my phone to talk to the computer. It just all does it. So like that would be an example of something as we go down the list of your final projects. If like you said, I want to use a bee, I can't, like, I think it'll be really hard for me to draw. I would help you like find and source that if that was on like your list, you know? So but it sounds like you still need to do a lot of like brainstorming and pulling your pieces together.
I do have the mission statement because that's on my web page already. So I think I just have to pull everything from different locations and then just put it together.
Yeah, that sounds good. And again, next week, we also have one, we have next week that we can also work on these things as well.
Okay.
So if you're still in the early phases, or if you're really not sure if your project is, you know, like, is this a good idea? What do you think I should do? This can be early brainstorming.
Okay. And then this is all going to be submitted through what program now?
So you will make a PDF and you'll upload it to the final. I haven't turned it on yet because nobody should be done with their final yet. So I haven't activated the assignment. I will do that next week and you could start turning them in if you want to. But again, you should be taking this whole time to kind of flush this out and really evolve this brand. So I haven't activated the final for turning it in, but it'll be a PDF. And then you also have to present your concept. So you can record a video. What a lot of students do is record their screen and just talk through the pages on their document and explain it. So you do have to do what I call a pitch.
Okay.
So we can go on to the next person. And if any of you get like thoughts or questions as we're talking about the other persons, we can come back. Just like raise your hand or put it in the chat.
Thank you.
So let's go on to Mallory. Wait, is Mallory here? No, Mallory's here.
Wait, is it working? Okay,
Yeah.
there we go. I'm on my iPad, so I'm trying to fix it. Okay, yes. So I am actually starting a clothing brand with one of my friends from church, and it's called Eternal Xanadu. It's like a Christian streetwear kind of vibe. So we actually just started, so I'm like kind of excited to do the project because it kind of like will help us like start branding more and stuff.
Mhm.
But we do have like a logo we already created. So some of those things like I kind of already have checked off. Is that fine? Like, can I still
Yeah, you just have to put it all
compile
together.
all
Yeah,
it?
compile
Yeah,
it
yeah,
all together.
yeah. But I think I was looking at the list and I think I like understand pretty much most of it. I think I'm just learning like the typography, like trying to pick like which ones exactly to use, but yeah.
So for print as a clothing brand, sorry, what are you gonna pick for your 2 print components?
Can I use like designs that we've made for products or
So you
that
do,
we
but you
want to
would need,
print?
you need to like mock them up as if,
Yeah.
so yes and no.
Okay. Okay.
So you need to like show, which is funny because sometimes people pick stuff. I'm like, oh, you could do a t-shirt as one of your things. But since that's actually your product, you'll need to do something that's different because that'll probably come up in, so you can't just like do 2 designs. You'll have to do like this is maybe a postcard, you know, and then we'll probably see the designs if you do social media or a website, things like that.
Got you. Okay. Yeah. So I could do like a business card and then can I do like a tag?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll probably do like a business card and a tag probably.
So you sound like you're pretty solid.
Yeah.
Is there anything technical that you're struggling with, like how to actually achieve it or do it? Or once you do it, you might run into a problem?
Yeah. I think it's more so like that. Yeah, probably when I run into it, but I can always email you or whatever. Yeah.
And then, like I said, we do have next week as well. Because I matched the weeks together, there's just lots of like work time with the final. So we'll kind of have that free week on the 12th, because these 2 weeks are work weeks. So usually there's like the 2 weeks that are there. And then also when we're in the lab, like students would just come in and work. So if anyone's working on anything, you can, as people are talking, you can feel free to work on your own computer. And then when I get to you, if you want to like pull up what you're actually working on. So it sounds like you've got a good start. We'll keep going. And I hope this is helpful for those of you who are stuck, just kind of seeing what everyone else is doing and thinking about. Miguel, are you ready? Do you want to talk about yours?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
So yeah, just I've been doing my own hobby. I've been making rugs.
Okay, I read that. That is, I want to see them. It's okay, you don't have to, but if you have one, like hold it. I think that's so interesting. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty fun. So I kind of just started it for fun, and then a lot of people have been asking me for commissions and stuff, so I just might as well make a brand out of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
so I like
so
your name.
Oh, thank you.
I forgot exactly how it was worded, but I remember reading it thinking, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, like so tufting is the technical term for like making the rug. So I just wanted to include that in the name.
So Tough Dog Rugs. What's your vision for your brand overall? Do you have like a concept?
It's really loose right now. I just kind of been sketching around. Yeah, I'm still working on the concept.
So concept development also for everyone if you are sketching and you're working on your brand that way, you can also just put your sketches into the PDF as concept development. Some people
Okay.
like to mood board and prefer mood boarding, and some people like to actually sketch. You can go either way, or you could have both. So
Yeah, I wanted to try to incorporate like a dog into the logo, but it's kind of having trouble with that.
just drawing it, or like figuring out.
Yeah, just figuring out like, because I'm just doing rough sketches and just trying to figure out like, because I've seen like logos where they kind of like make an animal out of like the actual logo. I kind of
Mhm.
wanted to try something like that.
Like where like the type actually kind of looks like it's the shape of a dog.
Yeah, Yeah.
So
kind of hard though.
let me show you a demo. This may or may not be useful, but I'll show you a quick tip.
Okay.
Illustrator. So I've seen like, I love a logo like that where it's like the text works perfectly, where it's like saying something and then you see something at the same time. And I'm like, man, that is so good. But it's hard. It can be really hard to do. Let me just, I don't know if I'll be able to do exactly what you're thinking, but
Yeah.
I'll do my best demo of something that's an option. So probably a type that is looser, a little more free would be good for something like this that doesn't really have hard, rigid edges. Don't really want a script either, but I'm just gonna pick something. So this probably is not on brand, but this type will work well for my tutorial because it's really
Okay.
round and that 70s vibe or 60s. So I'm gonna break up the words. So in Illustrator, if you're doing something like this with type, see this is still as type. You can see the lines here, so I could rewrite the words if I needed to. But I'm going to convert this type to outlines. And then there is a setting, and I'm going to do this with a heart shape just because that is an easy shape for me to get to right now. And you could do it with a circle if this was get that heart shape. Like, let's see, dog. So if this was like, let me go back to here, dog silhouette. Maybe I could do this with a dog pretty simply. What kind of dog speaks to you if you look at these dog silhouettes? I want something pretty simple, not too many, like condensed and simple for this to work. Maybe this.
Yeah, I like that. The golden retriever.
Okay, let me click on this. It's gonna take me to Etsy. So what I'm gonna do right now is steal this. This is stealing what I just did. It's stealing. Not allowed to do that, but we are because we're a class and we're learning. So I just screen captured it because obviously like trying to pull it off and save it sometimes is hard. So screen capturing always works. I've got it here. I'm going to drop it into Illustrator. It looks like it's going to be high enough resolution. You'll see it's a PNG because it's a screen capture where I can just go object, image trace, make and expand, and boom. I now have a vector version of this golden retriever. And this worked because it was a black and white, super simple silhouette. So now I have this. I mean, if Miguel wanted to do something like this, and then it's like, oh, look, here's my logo, and you could start changing colors and doing that. But what he was describing is like when the type is kind of shaped like something. So I'm going to use the outline of this golden retriever just so I can kind of see what I'm doing. And I'm going to use the selection arrow. I just accidentally picked up the direct selection arrow and only got the U, but I want to get the whole thing. So then this is probably not going to be legible, but you'd really have to play around with it, and starting as a sketch and just starting by sketching things and seeing where this kind of fits in would be really useful. Like what would kind of work. So maybe this U scales down. A swole chihuahua. I was kind of thinking that too. I like this name too for something like you're making rugs, and I just like the juxtaposition of, like, I don't know, I would think like, wow, what a like cool art form, making rugs. It's very random. I had one of those like kits when I was a kid where you do all the loops.
Oh yeah.
Okay, this doesn't quite fit, but again, I'm not going to spend too much time. I just want to show you an example of what is possible.
No, yeah, that definitely helps. Like just seeing it.
So this is going to get really wonky because you'd really have to like tile these in here and kind of get them to fit and fill up space.
Yeah, I would
But
probably
then-
just try like maybe the dog head.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna
You
mess
can, and you
around
can
with
just
that.
see what works. But then, so here's another technique. You take this, you need to make sure, I'm gonna fill this back in, and I'm gonna turn it red just so we can all see it. See if I go back to outlines and kind of line that up. It has to be on top of the type that you want to use. And then you grab the whole thing and you go to Object, Envelope Distort, Make with Top Object, and click that. And see how weird it got? But if I did it,
Yeah.
that totally didn't work. But if you spent a little more time fitting things in, like let me get this inside this heart. I have to convert it to outlines. And you make sure the heart is on top. See how that worked a little bit better? It's still not quite
Yeah.
legible. It's a little bit of trial and error. So that's why if you can kind of sketch it out. And then there's also a tool where if you actually sketch this out and got it to look semi-decent, how you want it to look, I would just like take a picture and then trace your logo once you've got it in Illustrator. I lost my train of thought. I was going to show you something else. Oh, so another fun thing too that you could also do, like say, this was actually a legible logo, and like Miguel had mentioned, maybe just using the top half of the dog. And so I just did a clipping mask really quick to get rid of that. There's also a tool, and it should be in your toolbar behind something. Let me, oh, right here. So this little pin tack, it's called the Puppet Warp tool. So if I take something, oh wait, that's, yep, there it goes. So this is all one object, and see these points? You put points in places, and then you can maneuver your text by clicking those points. So that's also another way you can do it.
Yeah, I like that.
And then you can kind of get it to fit. And you can't, I didn't really line these up very well, so you can't really see them, but oops. And then I don't know what I just did. Oh, I just moved it to the back on accident. So you can just kind of manipulate, and then maybe the logo, like if this was like you left the outline, you know, and you could do something like that. But this bottom part is actually not legible at all, but that kind of helps. Does that kind of help you technically, like different ways to execute it?
Yeah, that definitely helps.
Yeah, so if you have something kind of like funky and cool where you can take liberties with your type, this puppet warp tool is really fun. And you can do it with anything. Like say I just had this dog illustration and I just wanted like its mouth to be open more or its nose to be more narrow. You can just manipulate an illustration that way. And there's lots of useful, now it's looking more like a duck. But you know, there's lots of useful ways to do it instead of like redrawing a whole thing. You can always try puppet warp with type, but remember, outline the type. And then if anyone else is kind of contemplating something that can be based off a silhouette, if you can Google it, just like I did with this dog silhouette, you can pull it into Illustrator and you can manipulate it. So if anyone needs those steps again, I can do them again, but that should give you some ideas. Anything else you want to talk about? I like your direction a lot.
No, I think that's pretty much it. I'm just
Okay.
gonna work on like the social media page and stuff like that.
Cool. All right.
Thank
I'm
you.
excited to see it. All right. Let me go back to my list of people. Jacob.
Hello?
Hi.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Mhm.
So I don't have a lot. Hold on. My camera's there we go. Okay. So I don't have a lot like tangible to start off with right now. But what I wanted to do is my friend's a Cosmos student and she's going to graduate at the beginning of June. And I was like, how cute would it be if I made her a booklet and designed like her stationaries, maybe like shirts, her cards, all her stuff, and then claimed a website for her. And then when she graduates, I just give it all her like, hey, here you go, like get started, because she started an Instagram and she's claimed her little like tag as Hair by Kenna. So I was like, how cute would it be if I made like a real logo and got it all set for her? And then I was like, oh, I could be really extra and get her like a neon sign where they like make it whatever I'd choose for like the logo. My only thing that I was struggling the most is like I'm not super duper fluent with like Adobe, so I just wanted to do like something simple like those cursive, but something that's like really easy to like work with, just because hers is one of those things that's not like it's not Adobe, it's like one of those bless her heart, I love her, but it's one of those free apps where you just can like there's like 8
Canva?
options for the font and it's just
yeah.
it's really grainy and it doesn't work that well. So that's why I was like, I just want it to be something that she could like, you know, drag and drop into other things and stuff and then use that as like the logo for her Instagram. And since she already has that, that's what I was thinking I should probably do like a website and then I could get it all framed out on like GoDaddy or whatever, one of those free ones, and then just give her like the keys to it and be like, here you go, girl, whenever you want, like it's all set.
That is so kind of you. That's like that's a wonderful gift. That'll be really exciting. So I love that idea.
Thank you.
So you want the font to look like neon, or are you saying like actual neon?
Like kind of like that example you showed where her logo was like her initials, but it was all that simple like cursive thing. I just don't like the ones that get messy where it looks like it's handwritten, because there's always those little like finer like details and points that like kind of like stray. I just want it to be clean, but like that same style. And I thought that way, if it was something that was really simple, I just go to Etsy and get like a little custom.
Yeah, like an actual
sign.
neon sign.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I was gonna say, if you want a tutorial on how to mock up neon, we can do that.
Okay.
But maybe we just need to look at like,
well, like
some font choices.
I would be down to do one, at least to give her like a fun one to put on as like the header for the website or like her Instagram, like maybe one like actual like fake that looks like neon, like that kind of style would be neat to just to have on hand to drop in as on stuff. I was just thinking I would go to like probably like Vistaprint or like what's that other one with the octopus where they make, is that Vistaprint?
No,
Or like where you can like make the shirts and they show you like the pictures. I thought I could just do that and kind of like rip them for the project and be like, this is what the shirts would look like, you know.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the name of it, but yeah, that's a really nice convenient site because you can get one-off items. So instead of like having to like bulk purchase things.
Her family's obsessed with not Vistaprint, but one of the ones, so they make everything always has like these really like fancy like stationary send out cards. So that's why I was like, I have like 8 of them to pull for colors, fonts, blah blah blah. So that's why I was like, she did a lot of the simple work.
Okay, so that's a great idea. So do you want me to do a tutorial or show you anything, or?
Actually, I mean, if you could like show me the right direction real quick, just maybe for like the neon, or how to get like a pretty like type going.
So yeah, let's do that. I start everything in Illustrator, but then we'll apply some Photoshop techniques. And then let me look at Creative Market really quick. So I know in iStock, you can actually search neon letters, and then you could put the letters together.
Okay.
And then I'll screen share in just a second. Okay. Let me screen share with everyone. So a couple things. Places like Creative Market have resources like this where you could get the whole alphabet and then you would just move the alphabet together. But like this one is so simple, you could make this kind of thing yourself. What I'm picturing more though is like that like scripty look, not like
like the yellow one.
Yeah. So I searched neon on Defont. I don't see anything. We can look on Google. That too swirly?
It has like a weird.
It's kind of, yeah, it also depends on the letters in your brand. So I don't know.
I like that one, that second one from the bottom, something sort of like that. Yeah.
There's been so many times too where I'm like, oh, I love this font for one of the letters and one of the words. And then like the second word, I'm like this. I ran into that doing a coffee shop where I would like the font and then like the Q was the big letter. And like, you know, sometimes Q's look almost like twos and sometimes they're round. And I only wanted a round Q. And I like kept running into that and getting so frustrated with like the look of things. Cause I'm like, oh, I want it to look like this. So let me put this font in. And I'm going to use this one because, you know, you could go on that site and download it as well. Go into my messy downloads.
What was that website one more time, just so I can write it down?
Defont. I can put it in the chat too.
Okay.
It's a free font website, and that's .com. And it's really great for display fonts. It's like a typography community where people make really cool fonts and stuff. Some of them you will run into issues. Like if you try to go save, it'll tell you like, you're not allowed, you don't have the license for this. All you've got to do is convert your font to outlines and then you're fine.
Okay.
But it, you know, Adobe will recognize the font and tell you, you can't save this. And then you just convert to outlines. So I'm going to turn that on. Where'd it go? What's it called? Neon. Didn't pop up. So I actually have to activate it on my system. And I didn't see if it was activated. That's a different one. I'll just drop it in again. And then see. All right, well, this might cause me problems. Because it's not popping up to actually turn on because this program needs an update. Oh, I know what to do. Let me try putting it in here. It's not a Western font, but I only have 34. Did it go in? There, got it. Okay. There's a workaround to everything. And then it should be activated if I go to properties. So I'm going to delete all of the dog stuff. And then what are the letters that you'll be working with?
For her thing, it's going to be Hair by Kenna. So I was going to do like capital H, capital K-E-N-N-A.
Sorry, one more time. Capital H.
So no,
Oh, you
so
want
like
it
the
right now?
hair, like yeah, I was just gonna do hair and then lowercase BYB and then Kenna, and so the only capitals would be the H and the K. Yeah.
This font looks pretty cool. This might be what you want. Let's zoom in here. So a lot of times with free fonts too, this script is well made and has those clean edges that you're looking for. The one thing I would do, see how where the A and the I are meeting, it's doing that here. So I would go in and use your kerning and really bump those. And it looks like, so this is an issue with the free font. I would just convert it to outlines just because as I kerned it, it wasn't changing. And you can add points and get rid of those like overlaps if you don't like them. I mean, it also depends on how nitpicky you are about your type.
Yeah, I mean, like I would probably go in there and mess with them. If we convert them to outlines, could I use like the shape builder and like stick them all together, or does that not work with
Oh yeah,
outlines?
yeah, you can
Okay.
totally. And then, yeah, they're still, because they're just outlines, they're still individual letters, but yeah, if you wanted to merge them together. I just don't like when scripts like poke out from each other. That's just like my own personal pet peeve on scripts. But okay, so we'll just start here. Neon, right? So mocking that up, really all it is, it's a bright, vivid color, and then it's like a haze, and then probably one other color on top to create that highlight. Let me go back and look at these sample neons. Actually, these really just have
it's just like the haze and
the
then
haze behind it. Yeah, so you could even skip that. This one has the background, so it uses that like pop of color. So you could play around with it, but really, let's do, I'm just going to use really bright pink for now, or actually that looks pretty, something really bright. So I can get that, I copy it. I'm going to come over to Photoshop, start a new file. And again, just pay attention to your sizes. If you want to work on 8.5 by 11, just so you know it's big enough. But this is, we're creating a JPEG now. So it's not going to be infinitely scalable like an Illustrator document. And then I still forget this every time because it was a switch like a couple updates ago where they made it more accessible. It used to be like to scale proportionally, you had to hold down Shift in Photoshop, but now it automatically does that. And if you hold down Shift, it makes it wonky. So sometimes I still forget and hold down Shift. But I just want to make that a little smaller so it floats in the space. Let's make this background black so it can look like the dark. See, it's already looking like a glow just by the colors you pick. So now, can you all see my whole screen? I need to move you. I have my. So you would duplicate this and you can just drag it down to the plus sign. Sorry. My voice is back, but if I talk too much, my throat gets tickly. So, or you can right click and hit duplicate. And this bottom layer, you're going to just blur it. So filter, blur. There's a lot of different blurs. I'm going to go with the Gaussian blur. It's just a nice blur overall. And then let's see. Because this is so thin, I'd actually like it to be a little more hazy than that. But we're only, like, it's only blurring based on, sorry, the pixels we provided it. So if I go up too much, it just all gets washed out and you can't see it. And if I go down too much, you can't see it because it's behind there. So I'm going to leave it here at this midpoint, but then I'm going to come back to Illustrator. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to copy Command C and then Command B, paste in back. And I'm going to save this color to my swatches and I'm going to color the outline. Actually, I'm going to change the color so you can see what I'm doing, but I'll change it back. So now I have this blue outline behind the original text and I'm just going to bump it up a couple points so that we have more information behind there. So you'll see this one is still just like that. And what's
Mhm.
behind there is like the thicker version. So I can move that to back. So I can grab it, change this to that color, and then copy this, Command C, go on over to Photoshop, Command, oops, wrong command. Command V to paste. And then ideally, if I'm doing this, I already scaled this down, but I could scale it. And because it's going to be the blur layer, it's probably fine if it's not exactly right on top. But if you want to make sure it's fine, just go back in and then copy your top layer again and just paste it right after, and then it'll be the same size. So if I hide that for a second, hide this for a second, I'm going to make this thick layer just a little lighter so you can see it and see how it's on top of each other. So now they're the same size. But like I said, if you didn't do that step, I could also just scale this one down. Okay. So now I have my thicker layer and then my neon layer, and I can take this, bump it back up, and go to filter, blur. I'm going to go back to that Gaussian blur. And now there's more stuff there to give it a little more of that look. So I think about there looks good. And then you can always change the opacity of the layer too.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people do this like on TikTok or something, and they'll draw this on like Procreate or whatever and add like white, maybe even like really
Yeah.
faintly in the middle. So I was just gonna play with that and see if I liked it without like the highlight in it or not.
Yeah, Procreate would be there. That's easy to blur things too and get that layer on Procreate. Here you can also, oops, wrong. You can also add another layer. You can draw lines, or you can paste in front. So I added a layer that's outlined in white on top. Let me make it yellow just so it's easier to see. And then you can zoom in there. Now you're in the way of my tools. Your heads are always in my way. If I zoom in here, you can also start cutting this apart and then like picking the edges that you want. And then you can, you know, if you say you just wanted like this side of the H and then you wanted to delete the rest. And you can do all of this in Illustrator first and have like your like fuzzy layer, your neon layer, and then your highlight layer, and then bring them all over to Photoshop and blur them. You can blur in Illustrator too. There is an effect for that. So you can practice. There's Gaussian blur here. But then for me personally, once I start getting into like photoshopping something like neon, I might want to mask it and like cover something or like just do more effects that you could control in Photoshop. So like, because this is how I'm thinking in my head as far as like mocking up a neon. Neon is actually playing and manipulating with light. And so photos are the same thing. So for me, you'd have more control doing it there, but you can just blur something in Photoshop or in Illustrator too. So
like, I just want to ask if I was gonna make like a standard logo just to, you know, click and drop whatever, what kind of, should I do a JPEG or should I, what size, like what optimally format and file type should I go for?
For your project or for your friend to actually use?
The one to actually use.
If it's primarily social media, I always think like a 1920 by 1920 square is a good size to give someone that they can like plop in and use, like if they use it in stories or they use it like as a post and add a background and things like that. That should be enough resolution. And then also if it ends up getting printed, as long as it's not too big, it'll be pretty good. But yeah, like anything, and if you go like to print like 300 DPI, anything that's at least like 5x8 should be good. I give every client a PDF that tells them when to use each logo file, because I've had clients in the past like try to print signs off a JPEG and then they're like, it's blurry. I'm like, oh no,
Right.
use the wrong files. But like a 1920 by 1080 is like a big TV.
Right. Okay.
But it's not too big of a file that like you can't send it to somebody, or like it would like bog your phone down. So that's a good size to give to somebody for them to use.
Cool.
All right. Well, I like where you're going. You sound like you've got a good grasp of it. Any other questions?
Is that example like portfolio packet in the file somewhere for us to look at, or no? Like the one that we were showing, you showed us a second ago?
Yes. So the samples are, if you go to the modules and you go to, I always have to make sure it's turned on because you know me, final resources on week 13.
Okay.
And then
Use
you'll
templates.
see a link to examples of past student finals.
Okay, perfect. That's all I was just making, just so I can go look at it later.
Yeah, and then there's a video where like, because I used to have students actually print these out and turn them in. So there's also a video somewhere where I hold them up and talk about them, but you
Okay.
can actually look through each student's project on there. And then there's sample videos of their pitches too. So
Perfect. Well, thank you for that.
you're welcome. So let's go to Melissa.
Hi, sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, well, I actually have no idea what am I gonna do. I do know that I'm gonna use my actual brand, which is a clothing boutique. I'm gonna be using that. The thing is that since I have my boutique, I don't have like a tag for it. So I was thinking that I might create a tag or a logo, but I'm
Okay.
still not sure. I'm still
Oh,
like very clueless about it.
I went to look at your Instagram, like you're actually like doing it,
Oh, thank you.
where you have a real like functioning business. That's really cool. And I see you also have like the beginning, like you have a logo at least that you're using.
Yeah, but it was created like in an app, but I want to create something that, you know, it's that I made it. It's not it because it was a template. So I
Mhm.
use a template for the logo, but I want to create like an actual logo.
Something that's more personal to you and your brand, more unique.
Yeah.
So what do you think as far as like style wise? Like what do you want to change? Or do you want an icon? Do you want like a different font? What are you thinking as far as style?
Well, I'm thinking probably a different font because since the logo I had it was like very limited, I didn't have a lot of options. So maybe just changing the font and the color. That the color might be blue because blue is my favorite color. So that's pretty much it because I'm still not sure.
Okay. So if you need like technical execution tips, we can always do that next week. So spend this week really like figuring out where your style is, doing a mood board or your sketches and getting your concept really dialed in. So yeah, those of you who are still in the conceptual phase, make sure that you really work on that and kind of dial in where you want to go so that next week I can help you execute if you need tips for that. All right. Anything else you have a question about or need help with?
Yeah, I do have a question. Since we can create like a tag or a logo, will it be fine if I also try to create like maybe a shipping bag?
Oh yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna start sketching and see what I come up with.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
a great
thank you.
idea for a clothing boutique. And I just want to add again and restate this. You don't actually have to make it functional. So what is a shipping bag? It is a certain size, right? It'd be like, I usually have one around here. So if you just design it proportionally to whatever that like rectangle shape is, and put that in your PDF, if you want to go the extra step and mock it up on something that's like, you know, like cushioned or like plastic, so it looks like an actual shipping bag, you can, but really just focus on where your branding will be within that rectangle of what a shipping bag would be.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Brianna Martinez.
Hi. An idea that I barely put in the discussion today though. I kind of forgot about it.
You have time. I think the discussion's open till midnight.
Me and my friend, we once upon a time were bartending when we were more involved in the business. We decided to like do a bartending gig like just on the go. And we had bartended this really, really cool lesbian wedding, and we had like the time of our lives. And after that, we were like, we should just like do this, like, and make it a thing. So I told her maybe I'd get back to it once I was, you know, had more free time and was done with school. But with this project being presented, I thought, hey, I could maybe create a logo for us and just kind of see, you know, where that takes us. If we wanted to really do that, we would already have a direction to go.
Yeah, that's cool. You know,
that's
I
as far
used
as I
to
got.
be in the wedding industry. I used to do wedding photography, and hiring bartenders specifically for your event or a wedding is a real thing. Like people need it all the time. I don't know how many people are like, oh, my friend's gonna bartend. And then it's like, your friend didn't bartend. Your friend attended the wedding. So yeah, that's a really cool concept. So do you have like visual ideas in mind or inspiration?
I honestly don't. I really don't. So I'm kind of hoping that you'll get my juices flowing and then I'll be like, oh yeah, that sounds good.
Do you have a name?
No, I mean, me and my friend's name, I mean, I don't want to put our names in it, but I thought about that and I was like, no, I don't want to put our names within our logo. I just want it to be like without our names, but I don't know where to go.
Let's brainstorm. Anybody got ideas?
I'm doing initials if that helps.
Yeah, initials is always a way to go. I think if you're hiring professional bartenders for an event you want, I mean, it also gives you, I mean, it's a fun aspect of it. So you don't have to be too serious. You go either direction. You can be like, we're like really professional and this is why you want to hire us. Or it's more like, we're like a fun addition to your event. You know what I mean?
For that wedding, we were definitely both.
Okay.
So we started as like professional, but then I felt like people were just kind of being very standard about it and boring. And then we started actually interacting and joking and like doing stuff while like making the drinks, and people loved us, which was like, dude, people like us. Like, this is like fun.
That's great. So you could go this direction too, where you create a brand that's relatively simple. Maybe it's like, again, the more simple a brand, the more broad it can be. And then like a brand isn't just the logo, it has all of these other components. So in your social media and in your brand voice and all those other components, you can really hype up the fun and your personalities and showcase who you are. But maybe the brand itself is something that's really simple, like logo wise, but I think there's an opportunity for a fun name here too. What I would do is go to the internet and like Instagram or Pinterest and Google event bartenders, mobile bartending service near me.
I like that.
So let's see, pure cocktails, platinum bartender. That sounds, there's one called hot bartender. For some reason, Google thinks I'm in Los Angeles. Let's see. So see what's out there. Oh, here, best bartender for hire in Bakersfield. Mixologist. There's something here. There's opportunity for a fun name. The girls in the bar.
I thought about meet us at the bar.
Meet us at the bar.
Thought about that, but I do like the girls in the bar. Like that, I didn't think about adding that. I like that too.
If you go with something like that, that's like, this is very like the girls at the bar, you could even do a logo that is yourself, you know, like you can make your brand mascot your logo too, if you wanted to do that, or you can have like the typography and then you could make a brand mascot that's separate. There's some fun ways to go. I could even see something like this. And when I mentioned broad, like you could do something like this, like whether it's meet us at the bar or the girls at the bar, you can use like a really simple like script. Cause I just feel like script says like fun, but the right one, maybe not like swirly, but almost even like the neon one where it's like, we're just writing it casually on a napkin.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be cool. Like if it looks like it's written on a napkin, then you could even have like the ring of like a drink.
Oh yeah, I
So
could.
it's in a circle. So you could do something like that. But I think you're onto something. I think this could be really fun.
It sounded fun. I was like, I should run with this. I could come up with some good ideas.
Yeah, I could see something where it's like, let me screen share. We go back to here. Everybody use this font for your final. Not really, but you can because it's. So this would be something, because that's a long name, right? So you want to give it a little bit of hierarchy. Yeah, you don't have to spell girls right. You could spell it.
You could spell-
So I'm going to filter by script because I have a script in my head. I have to move you all. Something that looks more handwritten. That's probably a little too frivolly. It's not scrolling. Okay, there we go. You want to make sure it's like thick enough to be legible. This isn't quite what was in my head, but this will work. So if you want to do something like this, like a name that's really long like this, you want to make sure you're creating a hierarchy of your type. And then you can even mix it up. Like if you wanted these like small secondary words to be a different font, like a sans serif or something, you could.
I like that. I like that girls in bar are bigger. I like that a lot.
Yeah, so you could do something like this so then it's more like contained instead of just writing it out. And then I don't know why I was picturing like that napkin ring where you set your cup down. If you wanted it in there, you can actually find, let me see.
I'm trying to think, like a bar napkin are usually black, but I don't know.
Napkin, what would you call that to Google it? Not a ring because it's going to give me like a napkin holder, right? Water ring? What do you, I can't.
Evaporation ring. I don't know.
Let's see what pops up. No, I knew it was going to give me that. Sometimes I can't think of what to Google, but I know what it is. Napkin.
What about like a drink ring? Would that no probably
Drink ring. There we go. Something like this. I know you can get stuff like, see, this is stock. I was going to try to steal again, but watermark. That's, see, to me, a watermark goes on stationery and letterhead. I wasn't thinking like, oh, see, like something like that, that's wine or something like that. But essentially, like you would want it to be broken up a little bit. So for like legibility and use, you could always just use an actual circle, and then you could clip it like random places if you felt like that made sense, and just kind of play around with it.
Okay, I see.
You know, and then you can also like, it doesn't need to be straight up and down. You can even experiment with like, maybe it's like tilted.
Oh yeah.
Because you have that, like, you know, it gets to be fun. It doesn't have to be super like stiff. So
Can I ask what that font was we were using? So I don't
that's
have
what
to.
I just used.
Yes, please.
Yes, I will post it or email it to you.
Oh,
Does
thank
anybody
you.
else want this font?
Thank you.
Better do it right now or I'll forget. I'm gonna export it right now. Okay, so do you have any more questions? Or you feel good now, like you have a direction?
I'm okay for now.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Like I said, next week, so if you're still in concept phase, you still have next week for like, how do I do this phase? Other Brianna Morris. Is she?
Hello.
Hi.
So basically, I don't have, I guess I'm still in the concept phase as well, but what I thought of was coming up with like a logo for a YouTube channel, specifically
Yeah.
a like gaming channel. But I haven't started on it or anything. Like it's just an idea for right now.
That's totally fine. I have a lot of students do YouTube channels for their page. So when you get to the digital part, do like your YouTube banner and your YouTube profile picture, things like that. You could even do, so for the print aspect, obviously if you're a YouTuber, you might need a business card, but you're not like passing out collateral. So you could do something like a thumbnail image, or you can get creative with it, whatever you think applies. Do you have a name that you're gonna work with?
No, not at the moment.
Do you want any help brainstorming like we just did with Brianna Martinez?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So is it for you, like for you personally, or what's the subject of your YouTube channel?
Honestly, it's gaming. So like, do you want like games in particular, or like?
Oh no, just like my YouTube channel is all about graphic design and graphic design tutorials. So like yours is like an overall gaming. So you like play games and review games and talk about games.
Okay, yeah, it would be like playing games. It would be like clips and stuff.
Okay. And I am sorry, gaming is one of the things I just don't know anything about gaming. I don't play games, video games. I'm so bad at them. I only play Mario Kart.
Oh no,
And I lose at that every time too. So I know that, but I know that is like a legitimate thing that people do. Like if you're into this, like you watch gaming videos on YouTube and it's like, it's a whole thing. So, are you the focus, like your voice, you're talking?
Well, no, it would just be like, I mean, I guess that like usually what it is, it's just like an intro introducing the video, but for the most part, no, it's just like gameplay.
Okay. So I think you want to figure out like what would appeal to your audience, and I would start, you got to name it. You got to give it a name. That's like the first part of your brand. So what are some gamers that or YouTubers that you follow that do this? What do they use?
Honestly, it's like nicknames. So like or it's just like their actual names, and they have like hyphens in them, like Corey X Kenshin or like Releasy. So I guess I would just like come up with like a nickname.
Yeah, you need a cool nickname.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I would start with you. I'd come up with your cool, because there's definitely a vibe to those names. Like it's not just like I don't know. They're kind of fun. There's definitely
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
fun element. So come up with a fun nickname, and then I would say beyond that, like you need to know what appeals to your audience, and it sounds like you're your audience, so you have a good grasp of that.
Yeah. No, I know what I'm aiming for
Yeah.
definitely.
And then it's almost like a personal brand from there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, next week, if you need how to help, come ready for that. But it sounds like you've got a good concept going. Anything else?
That was all.
Okay. So I don't think it's here. Sorry, I went alphabetical, Ashley. Star, you're next.
Hello. Let's see. Eventually, like right now, I kind of want to get into like social media managing, and then like maybe designing stuff for other people eventually, like as I get better in practicing this. But I have like two names in mind, like probably SP social managing. I'm not sure. And then I had another one that's called Free Groove Social Managing, but that sounds weird to me. I don't know. Like
Free Groove, like GROOVE groove.
Yeah.
I
don't know. Because I just want people to feel like open, I guess, coming to me, like be open-minded about things, because I'm an open-minded person, and I don't know. That's what I had in mind.
So your target audience is other businesses because you want to do their social media, correct?
Yes, yeah.
So you do also, just because you're targeting other businesses in the like social media industry too, like even other businesses look at like, that's the cool young trend you're chasing. So you do have that wiggle room to do something that's still fun and offbeat. It doesn't necessarily have to be super professional, but it can. That's up to you. And like I would say what your personal voice is going to be, because no matter what, even if you're creating for other brands, like your voice as the social media content creator is going to come through. Just make sure that you really like it.
Yeah.
And then
I'm kind of going more towards the Free Groove social managing. I don't know. I like that. And then putting like maybe a flower in the background or something.
Yeah, I think that could be really fun. And then you could have fun with it. And you said this is actually something you want to do, right?
Yeah, it's in my mind.
So I would also check like the handles, like the TikTok and Instagram handles, to see like what you could get in case you do keep using it.
Yeah.
You'll want a portfolio on all of those social channels that you're going to create content for, to show off what you can do, to draw other people in, to be like, oh, look what she's doing. I need her to do that for me. Right? Yeah. So, I mean, if you're really considering doing it, you might want to check like what handles are available, but you can always add stuff like underscores or dashes or whatever and figure it out. All right. Well, it sounds like you've got a good concept. Anything technical that you want to know how to do or not sure how to execute?
No, not right now.
Okay.
And then you said the recent project that we're doing, it's open until the end of the semester, right?
Yeah, I messed up over spring break not activating it. And then last week, I really couldn't talk to anybody to help you.
Okay, I was just making sure.
Yeah, so you all have until the end of the semester for project 6. Some of you are still missing project 7 too, so get that in. But yeah, as long as you get those in before the end of the semester, you'll be fine with project 6. And like I said, I looked at who's turned them in, and those of you who turned them in have done a really good job with either one that you picked. So, all right, is Lysander still here? Yes, he's here, Lysander.
Yeah. Initially I was gonna try to do like a brand for my dad's welding, but when I tried to put it together in Illustrator, it did not come out the way I should have stayed within my skill set. So I was thinking about just doing maybe like an influencer media kit or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah,
So would you be the influencer?
I guess so. Yeah, yeah. I have like an old Instagram account that I was just gonna like.
Okay. So as long as it's something like that where it's like actually you, but if you would rather troubleshoot your technical problems on the first project, we can do that now. It's up to you.
I will totally take it. I actually uploaded it to the discussion like 2 minutes
Okay,
ago.
let me go look.
It looks like I spent like 2 minutes on it. It was probably about like 30 minutes. Yeah. A lot of times when I see other like welders, they typically have like designs on their helmets, and I wasn't. I was having a hard time like kind of like making like, I guess like kind of like a, not necessarily like a graffiti kind of thing, but making it look more sketchier instead of just kind of like kind of poking around and creating little figures.
So what part? Do you want the logo to be the actual helmet, or are you talking about the design on the helmet specifically?
The design on the helmet, like the font and everything like that. I was just trying to like come up with names and stuff like that. But
you spent like so much time working on this helmet, and then you're like, oh, I'm just gonna type this font out.
yeah, like
okay,
yeah.
Let me screen share with
Go for it.
All of you so you can see what we're talking about. Although if you have looked at the discussion, it is in there, but it was the last one. Okay, so screen share. So this is what you've got so far, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, you're really not off to a bad start. Do you just want it to be like smoother, more
Yeah, like the
clean?
yeah. I was working on it on my tablet, so I was gonna just move it, like start. I was doing it while I was at work, and so I was hoping like maybe like I could. Initially, I wanted to do like an old school welding helmet, but then like I was worried my mom would see it and think that like my dad's like an old welder, and so.
I just wanted to get a feel for what this actually looks like, since again, it's a.
That's all good. Yeah, you can't tell from the image.
No, I mean, you actually can, right? You all can tell that that's. Yeah. I mean, I think you're off to a really good start. I think that it just needs to maybe be cleaned up a little bit. If you have something like this, sorry, I forgot I had my pen tool. You could even keep this image exactly how it is and just really make that type connect to it. And I think it would step it up a notch. So you can also smooth out. So like, here's an illustration of a welding helmet. Is like, did you want something that's more like this, like really clean and like.
Yeah. Yeah.
More like this?
Vision.
Is this the same?
Yeah. Yeah, that's.
Well, again, you're a student, so we can borrow things. So I'm gonna open this image in a new tab. And I'm gonna zoom in. I'm gonna screenshot it. And these steps will be recorded. And because this has a watermark on it, I am going to do an extra step than I did with the dog. And I'm going to bring it into Photoshop. And I'm just going to maybe even the healing brush would work. I'm just going to get rid of that watermark. Yep, just use a little healing brush over it and see it starts to get a little, it doesn't work perfectly, but that actually worked pretty darn good. Yep.
Yes. Are we like, I mean,
You're allowed to do this. You guys can do this.
okay. Yeah.
That's why I'm showing you. So, I mean, I think there's the pressure, especially when you're in this class learning these programs, that you have to build everything from scratch. But I hope that you can see that you can pull things as a base and a resource. So I'm not going to spend time cloning this whole thing out right now, but this is just the healing brush or the spot healing brush. And I could actually just take the ants in this square, like the selection arrow, and white. So for this big spot, get it out. See how it doesn't quite work perfectly here, but you can always take your, I like this polygon lasso sometimes for just making like real quick, sharp, weird shapes. And then you can take the black. So essentially what I'm trying to do is just get rid of that watermark so I can go auto trace it into Illustrator. And here's the thing. So you can't just steal a logo from somewhere and change the name and be like, this is my new logo for my brand for my final project. But in a situation like this, we're going to use this as an illustration base. And then by the time you like take this, so I'm just saving that, and you add your colors and your fonts and stuff to it, you're really making it your own thing. And it's okay that you started with this as a guide. And again, I, as a professional designer, doing this and then charging someone for it, I couldn't do. I could, what I would do is search, like I said, I use iStock. So I'd go to iStock, I'd go to illustration, and I'd search welding helmet. And then this is all royalty-free stuff that I can download because I have the license, because we pay for it. And then I would still manipulate it a next step so that it's not exactly like this. Like do you even like this one? But this is a free way to do exactly what I just did, what I'm showing you now. So then again, object, image trace, make and expand. And then you'll want to delete that background because you don't need it. And then this would be where you would do that purple gradient. I don't have my gradient open. Or is it more blue? Whatever you consider this color, it might be more blue. And then oops, and you want that the opposite. You can mess around. You know how to do your, I'm assuming you know how to do gradients because I see one right there. And then the black might stay black, and then maybe the white part just to get the dimension, even though it's like flat swatches of color, you want something more like that. And then lightning bolt, you can do the same thing. I don't know what it is about lightning bolts, but I have tried to draw them from scratch before. And for some reason, I'm like, that doesn't look right. So every time that I've ever drawn a lightning bolt, I have to do the same thing. And I have to actually like, it's such a simple shape. Because apparently I can't spell it either.
That was really wordy. It's the lightning bolt.
But I have to like look at it, even if it's something this simple. For some reason, for me, it's a shape that like I can't get it in my head, and I try to draw it, and I'm like, it looks off or not proportional. So same thing there, where I just pull it over. And this one, you could go again to to trace it, but really this is a super simple shape. So you could just get your pen tool and go boom, boom. Are you laughing because I made it so fast and you spent a long time on it?
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry. Just keep in mind how long I've been doing this. So yeah. And then you have a lot of options for type. Let's talk about proportion. So if this is the main icon, I don't know if I would have any idea what this is if it wasn't accompanied with something. I'm only keeping this font because it just popped up. This is not, you do not have to use this font. But again, think about proportion and scale. So do you want it to be something where, let me get my artboard and close. This is like the messiest work situation. You can't even see my artboard. So girls at the bar is going away. And paste this here. So it could be something where you have just icon and type. You'll have to decide where and when and how it's going to be used. I would imagine if this was really starting to be in use, it would go maybe like on a truck or something, on a t-shirt maybe. So you might want to do something like this. And then arc welding, that's the descriptor, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's like the type, but like I just wanted to put something there so I kind of knew like what I was working with.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not married to it though. Like
I'm just saying, because like, so it'd be Jesse's is really the name, and then arc welding is what Jesse does, right?
yes.
Because I was like, I know enough about welding to assume that arc is the type of welding, but honestly, I don't know all that much. So you could even do something where I'm just randomly picking fonts to give you all a demo. Sorry. Like maybe this is here, and then but like really explore the hierarchy of like how you're going to connect these two elements together, you know? So maybe it's dun, 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 maybe it's this and then this. The circle too kind of lends itself to go around here. Do you all know how to type on a circle to go around things? No?
I will because that's the only reason why it's not circular on mine.
Okay, so if you want to type in a circle, you start in Illustrator by making that shape. And this would probably lend itself really well to that. So it's going to go on the outside of this. That's why I'm going to bring it in a little smaller. And then I always like to cut, because I type at the top and the bottom, and you'll want it to go the same way. So I always cut my path right in the middle. That's just something I like to do. Then you get the type tool and you just click, and it came in super big because that's the last size that I used, but you can bring it down. And then you just center that up. And then here, so here's the trick for the bottom. I want this part to say arc welding. But obviously right now, see how it's upside down? So you go to type on path options. And then instead of baseline, you flip it. And you can see that in the preview. And then instead of baseline, you hit ascender. Or you can play around with it. Sometimes it looks better different ways. So type on path options, Set a sender now, maybe centering it is the way to go, but you got to flip it so that the type is right side up. And you can also do something like if I undo a couple steps. If I were to just type on my path like this, it's going to type inside the circle. So that's why you got to do that step where you take your circle and you got to open it up and clip it somewhere so that it knows not to type inside the circle. You're going to actually use that circle as your path.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah, I think you're onto something here. I mean, honestly, even if you use this as it is, everybody could tell what it is. You have a good start. But if you want to do something like this, you can. And I'll upload this video so you could just follow exactly what I did. But yeah, I don't think you need to start over. I think you're already at a good spot.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. So let's see. So I have Daniela.
Yes. Hello.
Okay. So you have a plan, I think you mentioned. You have initials?
Yeah. So what I was thinking, I've done like photography, like small projects for a while, but I've never like thought of creating a logo. It's more of kind of like a family thing, so it's not really big. But I think it's a good opportunity to actually like create one. And I was just gonna use like my initials.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just gonna put, so I'm thinking DMS Productions. So it's like some photography, videography.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of my concept. As far as for the logo, I was thinking, so putting like the initials or the wording in the middle, and then doing like a circle and including maybe like some sketched icons like of a camera, a video camera.
Oh,
And
that's
then
cool.
I'm not sure what else yet. For what was the other? And then for the print, I was thinking of like a business card, and then would a thumbnail be under print or under digital?
Like thumbnails of
Like an image thumbnail. Like I was thinking, so for digital, like a social media account where I post like examples. So maybe like an Instagram page or maybe a TikTok. And then I was also thinking of like a YouTube channel to post like maybe highlights and showcase more of the work. So I was thinking like, you know how on YouTube channels they have like a thumbnail image?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So I was wondering if that could be for.
Yeah, so that would be part of, well.
Or would it be something
So like
else?
the image that goes, are you talking about like before a video?
Like when you go on the page, like at the very top of a channel, there's like an image.
Like the profile picture or the banner, or you mean
the banner.
Okay. So yeah, that would fall under digital. So that would be what you're styling up. But you could do, so for print, even though it's a digital service, you can mock up a business card. What else would you want as a photographer? Even business, I never have my business cards on me. People ask me all the time. I'm like, here, follow me on Instagram. I didn't bring my business card. But you could mock up a business card and maybe like a postcard that you would, send out, like maybe some stationery if you just wanted to do something for, it's pretty open, but as a photographer, you're going to be having a lot of like correspondence with clients and like information to send out. Oh, you could make yourself a price list. Ooh. That's really important for photographers. And I feel like if this is something you actually want to do, having a price list that you can just send out is really going to help you, because especially if you're just doing it for family right now, it just kind of sets that like professional established thing to, I don't know if you're like this, but I'm like, when I first started doing photography and even design, I'm like doing stuff for a family and be like, and it's cool if you pay me, or if not, no problem. And then like, it's weird to get that. But now I'll just send people my rate sheet and it's like, cool. If not, like, there it is. And it just saves a lot of like, of that like awkward, like, please pay me. It's like, oh, you got my rate sheet, right? Okay. So then they pay you. So that would probably be a good thing for you to have as a photographer.
Okay.
And there's a business lesson for you.
Thank
So it
you.
sounds like you've got a good grasp on what you're doing in a good direction.
Mhm.
All right. So if you have any technical problems next week, let me know and I will troubleshoot them for you.
Thank you.
So you're welcome. So Danielle.
Yep. Yeah.
I think you posted in the discussion, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I basically the concept is like I'm working on it for like my interactive class, like the coding for it. But basically the idea is like connecting information and resources.
Oh, okay. It's coming back to me now.
Yeah. So like I'm making like a location-based website that's gonna have like different point to like different resources and stuff on campus, or like different points, like, oh, this like mural is made by so and so, or like just different information, not just like the website, but like specific to like where you're at. The idea for that came from like that there's a lot of murals around town that you don't know how to like contact the artist, you don't know how much it costs the city, like how long has this been up, why, what's the meaning behind it, all that type of stuff. And you can't really like just look that up unless there's like a QR code. So that was the idea, was like QR codes, but like Jeremy Warner, he's like, can you just make it location based? So I'm doing that in the coding, but like I am scaling it down to like just CSUB for like the purposes of the assignment. But like the longer term goal would be like something like city purpose wise. But so I kind of like have just been calling it like in GitHub like campfire, because like the idea of like community and like history and connectivity, like, oh, you go around a campfire, you connect around a campfire has campus in it, like, so I'm it's like I'm trying to think of what to do for the logo, but I don't want to, it's like obviously it's going to involve like a campfire, but I don't want it to be just a stereotypical like campfire, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. That's a cool name though. I like that name. So you've got the project started, but you haven't really delved into the branding aspect of it yet.
I haven't done into the branding of it. That's why I'm like, oh, this will work for this class, because it's like,
yeah, that's perfect.
I'm not doing that part for that class, so it's like, oh, that makes sense to do it for this one.
That's really cool. So yeah, I love that name. I think it's like, you can, like how you were saying it, you can hear like people being like, oh, like it's on Campfire, or like you can say Discord or Twitter, or like that. Gosh. Anybody have ideas? What's the vibe you want to go with? Like if you look at other, like social media and web stuff is typically like minimalist, kind of techie based.
Well, definitely that, because it's like I can't make an app, I don't have that skills, but originally that was like the idea. It's like, oh, like you could just like have it and that would show you around like your city or whatever. But like so it's like probably going to be more techie, but like I definitely like more of just a clean logo, nothing like
Does anyone know what the Discord logo means?
Like, I think it's supposed to be like a video game controller, but it's also like an animal, I think. Let me check.
Oh, I mean, I'm sure I could look this up, but
I know for sure it's definitely supposed to be like a game controller.
I always see that face in it, but I'm like, I know this has to have more meaning and I don't know what it is. So you could start, like, if I'm stuck on something, I look up like campfire logos and I would just Google it and see.
Yeah, that's what I was looking
And of
at
course,
earlier.
it's like very scouts camp, like that's what initially comes up. But a fire can have, or like a little flame can have a really sleek, minimal look to it. And then, you know, the fire is like an X essentially. So you could play up that.
I just was trying to like figure out how to not make it look too much like what's already out there.
Yeah.
Like that's what, like, I definitely like the idea of like an actual literal campfire. And like I already checked them, like, okay, this like that web server name's okay. That like if I were gonna like what's the term, like business name, like what's the term that like
copyright or
I feel like
license?
that might be it, but I might be thinking something else. But if I were gonna
register
register it, it'd be fine. Like,
yeah, so you could also, because looking at it, a lot of the, like when I just did a quick Google, a lot of the logos on here are the fire with the wood underneath. So you could also figure out maybe how you could incorporate it into the type. Like if you write out campfire, could any of the letters lend itself to that?
I could see that. Because I'm spelling it like FYR.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So of course I spelled it wrong. And then are you going to run it together as one word or is it like two words?
I think I'm running it together as one word, but like capitalizing like the C and the F.
Yeah, so this would be a
I'm
situation.
I'm not married to that.
This would probably be a situation where just sketching a lot out and just seeing where the letters kind of go. And then just seeing if it maybe lends itself to something. Because most of the things out there I've seen use like the actual icon of a campfire, but if you could connect it to the type, that could be really cool.
Yeah, because I just didn't want to be like, I don't think I would have legal issues, but it's like, oh, it looks too similar to like such and such.
Yeah.
Like,
but I love your idea. It's really cool. So you've got the green light to go forward. And if you need help, like maybe by next week, if you can have a pretty solid idea, and then if you're having trouble like connecting any letters or really executing the actual visual elements of it, we can like draw it out and work on it.
Yeah, because it's like I kind of have like a color palette and stuff. That's why I put that in like the chat. Like definitely like for with regards to like the web page and stuff like that. Like I'm always using dark mode because it's like hard on the eyes. I'm like, oh, I could do like star background stuff like that. Like,
oh yeah, cool.
For the that way it's like, oh, those like little pops of orange show up more, as if it's like the looky like with when it comes to like information out there. But
yeah, well, it sounds like you have a strong visual concept, so I'm excited to see what you come up with. And yeah, if you need help executing any parts of it, just like how do I draw this, or I can't get these to connect, just we can work on that next week.
Okay, cool, thank you.
All right, so now I think finally Ashley, you're up. Is that right? I didn't skip anybody.
I have been the last in line since elementary school.
Me too, as a Williams, and then I changed my name, so now I get to be at the top with Cordova most of the time. But
normally
most
it's
people
me,
still
so
call me
I'm billing, so it's like
right. You're all, I'm usually at the end. Well, and then there'd be like those random days where they would like
reverse alphabetical.
Yeah, I'm like, oh shoot, okay.
I almost did that because as a fellow W or past W, I understand, but the C's are probably used to going first, so.
Right, I know. I'm like, gave me more time to be reflective, but you guys all shared awesome stuff, so that's awesome. I'm gonna share my screen for a second.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, so essentially one of my friends is a graphic designer, and like he did this for me. And I basically like have business cards with like that on it and the name of my business and like my Instagram and stuff. But I feel like this is like a lot going on, you know, and obviously very kind of complex. So I kind of want something like simple. Like I think he was doing that as a logo, but I don't feel like that's like just too much going on for it to be a logo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so with that, and then this is like this was my gift assignment. And I feel like hopefully from these things you can see what my, you know,
yeah, for
aesthetic
sure,
is for the like brand and whatnot. So yeah. I also like want my logo to be more like pastel and stuff with my colors, and I just don't necessarily know what to do.
So I love that illustration. It's so cute and cool and fun at the same time.
Right? I'm like, yes.
But you're right. Like if this was your logo, as you started to apply it in different ways, because it's so complex, you would run into problems. So I would maybe take Stardust Lane and find a really cool font that's got like the same feel and like groove to it. And then just use those like pointed stars like around it a couple places. And then you have a logo type. And then this illustration is like your supplemental, and you could even work your font like under there if you wanted to. So like your business card could have like that whole illustration and then that under it. But then on the other side, maybe it just has that with like this would be your illustration there with the type. And then you just have the type and then like your actual like, sorry, that's a messy drawing. It really has nothing on it.
No, I see what you're
yeah, so if you just made yourself a logo type to accompany that illustration, you can use the logo type, but then maybe just like a few of those stars so it carries over. And then did he give you that original file, or do you just have it in a JPEG?
I do have the original file, and I feel like, so he probably thinks I'm so dumb because I'm like, hey, I have it in a file, but why won't it like show up when I'm trying to do things with it? Like I'm still so, you know, confused by all the like vector this and all that different stuff. But yeah, he gave me the file for that. He also, like on the front of the card, it is like a font with those stars kind of on it, but I kind of do want to like have my own version of it so I can like, yeah.
You have stars on both of them.
Yeah.
I want stars on everything. Just glitter and stars and stuff. Hey.
So if you have the original file, you could change the colors easily, but you could also just pull a JPEG into Photoshop and just kind of move the hue saturation around and the brightness until it has that right vibe that you like to kind of help you figure out like where your color scheme will go.
Okay. I just didn't know if that was like too like that's not my original design, so it's not like altered enough.
So you still have to like curate your whole brand style guide from that. So I would still source like a mood board, which you have a very strong distinctive style. So just whether it's like clothing or just like fashion photos or just photos in general, go pull like a mood board together, like with a handful of pictures to put on your concept page to kind of show where like you're like, I should be able to look at that mood board and be like, yes, this is the style. And then when you get into the logo and identity system, you'll have to show your illustration, your logo type, like together and apart, and then your elements, and then have that color palette really dialed in. And if you leave it just like it is with those like sherbety colors, that's fine. But if you want to make it more pastel, that would be up to you. So as long as you curate everything and show where your inspiration comes from, and then use those elements in all of your other elements, that you'll be good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and once I heard you talking about like with other students about being able to take some stuff from the internet, like that's kind of helpful to know that I could spruce something up with that, you know. Sweet. So yeah, I was either gonna do, okay, so then the logo, I guess, and then maybe like work on a shopping tag or a bag, like a shopping bag design or something like that.
Oh yeah, like a tote. So you can also think in terms of what do you call it? Not merch. Would it be merch? Swag. So if you're struggling with thinking of what to do for your printed stuff, like things like reusable tote bags are common. Like I think I mentioned, like if your company is a clothing company that makes shirts, like your shirt can't be your printed item. But if you're like the welding company and the shirt's your supplemental item, then you can kind of get away with it. So yeah, if any of you have questions about like your items and you're not sure if they fit, just email me and message me. But so far, everybody has really great concepts. I'm super excited about where you're going to go with them. And then remember, next week, if you have technical questions, if you've been working on it, you know what, maybe next week, let's all come prepared to put our PDFs together, because I know that's going to cause a problem for all of you. So if you can at least have something that can represent your logo, something that can represent, like if you have your fonts and your colors and your logo and all of these pieces pulled apart, I will go and do a tutorial in InDesign on how you're going to drop those in InDesign and make your PDF or your multi-page document. You can also do it in Illustrator. I just think it's easier, especially for something like this, as you're working on your piece by piece and you start saving them in a folder, to then use that folder and pull them into InDesign. So that is what we're going to do next week. We're going to put our PDFs together for this final, which is not usually something that I do a tutorial on at all. I usually throw you out there to make the PDF and get it to me however the students can. But I want to walk you through that next week of how you're going to put your PDF together. And then once you have that basic knowledge of how to structure and move stuff around in InDesign, especially if you did the GIF instead of the page layout, you can style it up more if you choose to later. But yeah, at that point, I think you should be pretty solid and good to go. And then on the 12th, if anybody, the 12th won't be mandatory, but I will be available if you need help. But really at that point, you can start turning in your project. I'm reading the chat responses. So yeah, everyone had such nice things to say because all of you have such good ideas so far. And I think it's going to be really cool. So reach out to me during the week if you need help. Next week, we'll work on putting our PDFs together with our elements, and I will help you troubleshoot anything else that you might be struggling with technically. But concept-wise, you're all good. You've got the green light, and just let me know what you need help with. And yeah, if anyone needs help with anything else that we didn't go over tonight, stay back. Otherwise, you're free to go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good night.
Hey, so my boss just asked me the other day about me working next Thursday for like a Cinco de Mayo event. And I'm like, I told him that
it is Cinco de Mayo. All the bar things are on Thursdays this
I know. If I had really like registered that or had known that, I started working there shortly before the semester, but if I had known that, I probably wouldn't have done a Thursday night class because I'm like, I told him this is an important day for our class. And I was like, but I'll check. He's like, it should be fine. Like, I'll figure something out, but like these other bartenders out of town. So like, I kind of need you. I was like,
it's the last official day of class, but that's what I'm going to be going over. I'm going to be going over how to implement all your stuff. And I know we kind of did that one-on-one once with your folders and things like that.
Right.
So if, you know, just watch the video afterwards and just email me if you are struggling with putting your PDF together, but you've got all your elements. So then it'll be just dropping it in and arranging it.
Gotcha. Yeah. I was like, I feel like it's probably going to be just more on me to make sure that I like by missing out on that class, it's probably going to be like some helpful information. So as long as I'm touching base with you, because yeah, you said it's not due until the 12th or whenever, like not next week, but after
it's
that.
Not due on the, so yeah, we still have our final schedule is the due date because we don't actually meet for the final. I let you submit it digitally. So you don't have to meet for the actual final at all. But that's the due date for this project.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, you can start. I will turn the final assignment live after next week's class, and you can start turning it in after next week's class.
Okay, sweet. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.